everyone, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Tiffany, and my husband and I are the owners of Creative Designs by Tiffany, a floral shop and event space in upstate New York. While we'll continue to talk about the original flowers and floral arranging, we're expanding to talk about everything I love and nothing that I don't. Thanks for giving us a listen. And joined today by Dave Warner, who is always here with me.
I'm always here.
Yes, the
Otherwise
producer.
it doesn't happen, right?
Yes, exactly. I could talk to myself and no one would hear
You
anything,
could,
and that'd be fine too. So
I'm sure that happens too.
Yes, I'm sure. Well, ask my husband. I'll be like, sometimes I'm thinking about the store. When am I going to do this week? He's like, who are you talking to? So it works. It does. It works. Yeah. So, and the name Tiffany Talk, that is perfect. I was thinking of it on the way down because that was one of the things when I asked you, I said, I don't know what you'd call it. You're like, how about Tiffany Talk? And I said, I fill that in pretty well, I think.
Yes,
so.
You do. See, I knew you so well.
Yes, that's it. And I said, this month I had taken off a couple months break from Willie because I said, that was just such a good podcast.
That was
I
an awesome
keep
one.
Listening back on it and just grabbing it. And I was like, I think it's time now. Well, you let that set for a little bit. He had his EP drop and all of that.
Yep.
And I said, now.
And he used it quite a bit. He cut it up
did.
And used pieces over and over again.
Yes. And did you see, too, he had a couple other podcasts, which I'm not sure when he recorded those because they seem like they were more pre-recorded than this was. So I said, I'm not sure if I was the start of that or if that was like he was following up. He used ours and then he was like, hey, I can come on this one too.
He could have, yeah.
So, yeah, I said that's kind of cool. And I don't know if you listened to the other ones, but
I didn't.
said they are pretty much exactly what he talked about here. He got into more depth with ours. So I'm like, that's kind of cool to be the first trailblazer on that one. So, so that was exciting and stuff. And like I said, you just kind of ride that wave. And I said, now we're going into almost the end of the summer. And I haven't talked about flowers, and flowers are the thing that I have to talk about. So I said, I better get my butt in gear and start doing it. You kind of had
quite a few of them there, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Just go off the rails, start talking. And I said, well, now we got to get back into the flowers and the event space because everyone keeps asking, so do you have a lot of weddings? And this is the quiet drop. None for the rest of the year.
Really?
So I have, this is the thing that I always tell everyone. I am my own contractor. So I don't subcontract with any other spaces or any other event spaces and coordinators and stuff. You do your own thing. So like if you have flowers that you need to order, you got to come and talk to me. So that even goes with like the teleflora, which we've talked about in podcast past, where like they're sending you orders. I just like to do it directly with you so that I know what you're ordering. You know what you're ordering. You get it. You have a complaint. You talk to me. So this year we are done, let's see, May and June, which was when we did the last podcast. That was crazy with graduations, weddings, and everything.
Right.
Now moving on to the fall, now we're going into the event space. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of where we're at with that. All of my weekends pretty much now for October are booked up. And we have a couple of fun things going on too that are public type events. So I'll talk about that today too. So the first thing, let me make sure I stay on my list. So I wrote a list, so I made sure I touched on all of this. So, the first thing that I wanted to mention, so we do have that event space still for rent. The micro weddings didn't really take off. And, I was talking to some people about this, and I want to, tell anybody who's listening too that's starting out with a business, sometimes plans fail. So you have to go on to the next thing. And I think we've talked about that a few times on the podcast, but you've heard it from me. So now we're going to keep going with it. So the micro weddings, haven't had any that have come up. So what's the next thing? Do I just totally scrap the idea? Do I drop the building?
Yeah, but why would you? It's still...
It's exactly. It could be done anytime, but you have to like fill in the gaps. So obviously to make money, you want to make money because it's a business. So you think on things and what you're going to do. So we, obviously have done a lot of showers there. Showers have been a big thing. So bridal showers, baby showers, birthday parties, for older people, not necessarily for younger people because of the way the event space is at. And if you look online, if you've come to the space, you'll see what I mean. Like a kid's birthday party, not the greatest for upstairs.
No room for a bouncy house
right,
inside.
Yeah. The funny thing is there is room. It's
I
one
know,
of those
in
like
the parking lot,
right? Yeah. Well, in the parking lot outside, upstairs you have that big vaulted ceiling, but unfortunately or fortunately, there's so many nice things in there that everyone's hesitant to say, okay, I'm going to have my kids in here with like finger paints and stuff.
Yeah.
So
you break it, you buy it.
Right, exactly. So downstairs, Barb, who owns the building, she had for years rented out the space downstairs, and now we're going to start taking that over in the fall. So
nice.
If you call us, you'll have two different options. So that's a thing too that this is the thing that I need to make sure that I say. So everyone always asks too, price points. We've talked about that, knowing your clientele. Around here, we're going to start renting out downstairs. So it's 2 hours for $100.
Okay.
And so that's a pretty, decent deal. You get 1 hour set up too. And it's basically like a, kind of, I would say more like a church hall, which literally I think that's what it was built to be downstairs.
Okay. I was like,
and
I've never been down there. How many square feet is it? What does it look like?
So funny thing is I was talking to Barb about this, and I said, funny thing is that it actually is the same footprint as upstairs. Duh.
Well,
right?
Yeah,
so,
it's a basement.
And I'm like, so I'm going through it, and I'm like, well, what can I fit in here? What can I do? And I said, obviously it's a smaller ceiling. There have been a lot of kids' birthday parties in there over the years, and smaller events, little reunion things. I think she's had a couple times in there. So that's kind of more, it's not as nice, we'll say, as upstairs, but it's a nice space if you need a bigger space than just your living room. So we can still fit 50 down there. We're going to go 50 to 70 downstairs just because of the way you can kind of lay it out. Nothing fancy, just a basic little, basement kind of setting. But it works, and there's a kitchen down there.
You could decorate it.
Right.
And, there's a kitchen too.
There's a kitchen too.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's kind of the thought process behind it. And it's cut off kind of like my building is. So you have in the back my workroom per se that's closed off by the pocket doors. Downstairs, it's 2 entrances, but there's little doors on it. So you can close off like that kitchen area too and have the main room just like upstairs. So that's a nice option too. And, before she was still kind of renting it out if they needed it. Boy Scouts does their chicken barbecue down there for Violet Festival. So all those things are still going to go on. It's just as far as scheduling and stuff, it kind of all run through the store.
You will handle it, yeah.
So, and it's nice too because then you're parking. Like, okay, I'm not going to double book. If there happens to be something at the same time as the chicken barbecue, we're not going to do anything upstairs, that sort of thing. So, like I said, everything now starting at $100, which I think is a pretty decent deal for anything you're renting.
To rent a space, yeah.
Right, and then you have your upgrades. You can do flowers downstairs if you want to. So it's kind of a nice thing that we're expanding on that. That'll be as of this fall. So I'm kind of excited about that going in that direction too. Didn't initially want to do that, but at the same time, it kind of works, and if you figure it out, and like I said, it'll open it up, I think, a little bit more to a different clientele. So kids that birthday parties, where before I'd say, no, we're not going to do that. Now you have a little option for it. So
I'm still confused on the micro wedding thing. Is it that people are not getting married, or what is the deal?
So my philosophy on this, and this is part of where you figure it out as a business owner and you figure out your niche market. And I said, I think what it is that I don't have any friends that are getting married. So you're not in that age of like 20, 25, or even 50 or 60 that they want to have a small wedding. So I don't have anyone to basically sample it, if you will, off on. And so really you're taking that huge risk and gap of, I don't know you want to have it here, you have to trust me on it and roll with it. So I think
but
that's
you do that
part of it.
with anything you rent, any place you go to. You don't
true.
typically know the people. You don't know the space. You see something online, you go do it.
Yeah.
I'm a little baffled by that
am
one.
too. And, that was the thing is I kind of got hung up on it for a while because I was like, I'd really like to do this. Like, this is the idea. And it still is there as an option, but it's not the focus, we'll say, at this point. So you can roll on it, and it might be a couple years, which is, the funny thing is that was something that when I first started the flowers, never thought that'd be something I'd do, and never thought I'd do X, Y, Z, and then it kind of evolves into it.
Right.
So when you have the plan, you can go back to it in a couple of years, and maybe that's the time for it
dust
too.
it off.
So,
I mean, I still think that this area with the number of venues that we have, and they're not competitive. They're all in different ranges as far as the number of people they can handle. There's nobody doing the micro wedding level, the small group, 50 people kind of thing.
Yep.
Everybody else is some level above that. Paradise or Rustic Ties or Beardsley, or they've all got a different kind of grouping.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and that was something that I talked about. Jeff Grace, who owns the, I don't even know what they're calling that anymore. I think
call it the Mill for right now, because
yeah,
it's what everybody knows it.
The Mill, and we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. I saw him at something, and I said, I obviously can't take more than 50, and I could, I just don't want to. And
but his space, if you only had 50, would not work. It wouldn't be intimate. It would be, you'd be like lost in a cabin.
Yes, and that's what he was saying. He's like, well, we would take, 300, I think is his number. And so I said, that's perfect. And it's like, it is all the way around, like anybody that 50 to 100. Then you have the 100 to 200. Then you have 200 to 300. So
I mean, we
it
really,
nice.
for this area, that's a perfect.
It is.
I mean, a perfect grouping. And I had forgotten forgotten about his place too.
It is, yeah. And, you know, that's the thing. Like even Rustic Ties, they'll say the same thing. Down here at the Beardsley Stone Barn, she'll be like, I don't do those. So like class reunions, and then it ended up bumping that I don't take quite as many as they needed, but you know, just not as much as they want. So you know, so it's nice, and you know, that's nice that it's all really close too, and people are realizing it. So that's a kind of cool thing. So
it really is a good destination when you look at how the area looks, and you look at these facilities.
Yes,
I mean, when you group all these, they're all different, but they're all beautiful.
Yep, that's it. And I tell my husband, because like we got married, I think it was 7 years ago, and we got married at Oppenheim Trailblazers, which is like a log cabin type setting up there. And I said, you know, if we got married now, you would have to pick, like, do you want the Rustic Ties look? Do you want the Stone Barn look? Do you want, you know?
Paradise,
so I said, it's
Paradise Gardens. I mean, that place, they've really
exactly. And then there's another one a little further down the road, Stone Arabia, which I've heard about, but I haven't been there yet. So
I haven't seen that one.
There's so many. I mean, so it's any niche that you're looking for basically can be.
But you know,
now,
you draw a 6 mile circle.
Yeah.
And all of you fit within that 6 mile, 5 mile circle.
Still my bed. We need more hotels. So anybody listening, put some hotels in.
That's a concept. But you know, the thing is, Utica's 30 minutes away.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, a 30-minute drive to stay at a hotel is not a bad deal if you can't find a room here.
Absolutely. Yep.
So we've probably only got in the area, with bed and breakfast, we've probably only got about 75 rooms or something like that.
And that's next door to me. That's what she has. Is she has a not a bed and breakfast, but she has an Airbnb, and she's pretty much booked out. That she will have to block dates off because people come in for whatever they want to go biking, or they want to go to Canal Days. Even that's in Little Falls, or
Canal Celebration.
Yes, Canals. They changed it.
It was always Canal Celebration.
Was it really?
People said Canal Days. That was the
grew up here, and I always called it Canal. Well, there was another term for it too. So that was as our younger
drinking
selves.
Binge,
we always had another term for Canal Celebration that I didn't realize was Canal Celebration. That's fun.
There's a story coming out on it, and I said, you know, I'd really like to know what the origins of this were. You know, was it a bunch of guys in a bar kind of coming up with the idea? And the person said to me, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. I'm sure. Well, how many years has it been?
This is a 36th.
Okay. Yes.
But it actually didn't start 36 years ago because they had a couple of COVID year skips. So, yeah.
So, wow, that's crazy. Well, I'm 35, but I'm like, I always thought it was here like hundreds of years ago.
No.
Okay. Just, all right. Good. That's good to know. Well, that's coming up too. Dodgeville has the Blueberry Blues
and barbecue.
Yes. Yep. And then there's something similar that happens down here, Blues and barbecue. Are you still not anymore?
No. We got next. We got we've got, you know, Canal Celebration. Then we've got Garlic Festival. Then Cheese Festival.
Okay. Well, you know, and roll that into it. So I'm looking at my list because I was like, how am I going to connect these dots? And amazingly, every time I talk, I always connect the dots somehow. So the Cheese Festival, you know, last time, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, we were on. They were going to do a fundraiser that didn't pan out.
Right.
So they just couldn't get it.
They couldn't get enough people interested.
So there is I'm not even sure. She emailed you too, but I think they're basically trying to form like a cheese board, not cheese board, because that's not a that's the wrong term. It's not a charcuterie board. It's some sort of cheese, basically a get together, and I'm not sure what they're going to call it. Yeah. So that is going to be.
But that's more of a regional kind of thing than
and she's having it, I think, the day after the Cheese Festival, which is nice because it's going to be up at the store. You know,
was it the day after, or was it the evening of?
I think it's the day after.
Okay.
So it's going to be that Sunday there, and so you know, there's more details I think coming out on that. I think that is going to be more of an RSVP.
So that would be October 8th. Then, right. Is what that is.
Right. Yeah. And so that was kind of what I was going to say about our event space up there. She called me. She said, well, how far away are you from Little Falls? And I said, 5 minutes, you know, and it's just a little further north.
A long 5 minutes.
Right, it is. I didn't say how bumpy it is, how curved it is, how bad the roads
are.
It's a
long 5 minutes.
So, you know.
6 miles would give her.
Right. And I said, you know, that's kind of the nice thing is that I like these little events going on. Like St. Johnsville just had, I think, of the Honeybee Festival too. And it's close, but it's not like right in town, which for me, I love that because I hate it being clogged in town. And it's just close enough that people can come up, but, you know, either way. So that's kind of a nice roll around with it too, that I'm glad that they're able to do something up there without being the actual cheese fest. Right. So that's kind of a nice thing that I'm looking forward to as far as event space. And you know, that was half the the business now. So now we're going to go into the fun part, the florals, which is the original thing we started with. So if you can see it online, if you follow us, so I have been trying to mess with this algorithm, which I'm probably going to get canceled now for saying this, but this algorithm on Facebook and Instagram is driving me nuts because when I first started, you could post something, people would see it, and a lot of people would see it, or it would get shared. So you knew there were 700 people seeing it, or 800, and you have 1,500 followers. So you know it's good. It's half of the people you have. So my follower base, whatever you want to say, has not really changed in numbers. And on the advertisements or whatever it is, there's 200 people or 100 people. So
they want you to pay more. I mean, it's a money grab.
That's what it is. So I said, you know what? Okay, so what we're going to do is someone had mentioned to me, why don't you just keep posting? Like, that's how the algorithm works on Instagram. You post a ton of different things. You do a reel, you do a post, you do a picture post. So I said, you know what? We're going to try this now. I got a little bit of time. Next couple of weeks, we're going to do that. So if you've been following, I am sorry if you are bombarded with how many things that I've been posting, but it has been bringing out that there's 100 people that see this post, another 100 that see this. So you got your total of 200, whatever. So long story, we have now a garden cart that I'm putting out, which is literally a garden cart. So outside we have that garden that we had planted last year.
Right.
This year it's planted again. So what I've been doing is taking stuff out of that garden and putting it in little jars. We're selling some of the flowers off of it. We're selling the vegetables, which I forgot to bring you a zucchini and a cucumber.
I love cucumbers.
Well, when you stopped at Dollarville, grab some. So it's all on suggested donation.
I go to the farmer's market there.
Right. So that's good. And a lot of good stuff they have down there.
A lot of good stuff there.
Yeah. So anyway, so what we're doing is it's a suggested donation cart. And what I've told everyone, and my husband's going to kill me for saying this, but it is, if you have it, grab it. If you don't, take it, come back when you can, pay for it, whatever. But it's just kind of, it was out there. I don't want to see it go to waste. So take it, use it, whatever. So
nice.
As stuff comes out, that's going to be on that little cart. But the amazing thing is in my business that, $10 anymore, not a lot of money for flowers. So, I suggest a donation, $10 on the mason jars. Mason jars have been flying off of that cart like crazy. Now, you can't get a $50 arrangement out the door, but the $10 apparently is what you can do. So I said, well, let me think about this because you obviously you're in a business, you want to make money. So me purchasing flowers, trying to get to that $10 price point, that doesn't leave a lot of room. So I was talking to my grower, which is J. Flora out in Fonda. She's been doing it for about 10, 11 years now. Went to college for it. Best in the business. I've searched all high and low, and she is the girl you want to go to. Anyway, she has her own flower cart. She does her design studio. So what we decided on is that there is a mix of flowers that I normally will get that I'll purchase for myself, and then I'll mix it in with roses or lilies or what I call distributor flowers. Then there's a mix of what I get from her, which is her local stuff. And so what we decided on is she does these bouquets that, if you can see it online, you can hear it on here too. They're pretty big.
They don't have to hear it.
Yeah,
they can hear the flowers scream.
Yes, there's flowers on here if you're listening to it. So it's a pretty big bouquet, as you can see.
That's huge. Yeah.
And these are she sells these on her cart.
It's like a foot across.
Correct. Yeah. And it's a pretty big, see, I don't look across. I look like the flowers, right? So that's what I'm looking at.
Well, you got snapdragons in there, marigolds.
Look at you. You can name them all. And I'm starting. Girl. I can smell them now. So there's a story behind this. So in her mixes, like I said, there's certain things that I'll purchase that I'll use for my designs. But she has so many other things out there. So she makes these and she puts them on her cart. And so she sells them for $25. We're doing a trial right now at $22 at the store. So these are out
for that big bouquet.
For this big bouquet,
wow.
$22. And we'll get into what it looks like, so you can kind of hear it too if you're not watching. So what it is it's a $22 bouquet right now. We probably will up it to $25 in the next couple of weeks, just because to stay standard with what hers is. A lot of people know who she is. It's a pretty far drive. So I said, you know what, we'll try it. And the beauty of it is it's flowers that are not ones I'm going to use. So there's a couple of things like snapdragons I'll use sometimes, lilies I'll use sometimes, but she has in here, like you mentioned, and the marigolds get me. This is the marigolds are in here. She has some basil, some dill. There's some feverfew, some of the cosmos, some status. Just a really nice mix, and so that gives you something a little different, a little bit of a different price
Looks
point
really
too.
Nice.
So yeah, and it is. So the flower carts. The tough thing with that, we keep them inside. Most of them, I leave 2 out. Try to leave 2 out 24/7. So if you're going through town, use the same thing you would use for that little garden cart. There's a little mailbox there. Leave it in there. only doing 2 at a time just because that heat really gets to it.
Yeah.
We got some heat coming up this week, so
just a couple days. So
yeah, so hopefully that's pretty good. But usually you don't want to leave your flowers out too long because they get kind of stressed, even though they are grown outside. So what we're gonna do while we're on the podcast, and you can hear it, and I'll explain it as we're going. So when you get something like this off of the cart or anywhere you go and you get one of these flower things, you'll have. Hear the ripping? This is paper, right? So this is the paper that goes around it. So when it's out,
you've got, and the marigolds in there are the big marigolds.
Yep. And the reason why I never buy marigolds is because I think I'm allergic to them. My eyes start watering, start sneezing. So she laughed. She's like, "There's marigolds in these mixes, right?" And I said, "Yeah, that's great because people love marigolds, but I do not."
I like them.
So this is a good option for you if you love marigolds. Come on up and grab these. So what happens is you can see, like, obviously it's wrapped up, and you try and grab the best blooms that you can see on the cart or whatever you're looking at, and this goes for anywhere outside. So you want to look for the best ones, obviously, but sometimes when you see it, like, I don't know if you can see that, Dave, or if you can see it in the picture here.
I can.
There's a couple that are, a little spotted, a little browned off. So there's 2 things that I do whenever, you bring home flowers like this, if you're not getting them from a florist directly. So, like, what I would do is I would make mine right when you're there, wrap them up, you bring them right home, so you should be able to just stick them right in a vase and you're good.
Okay.
Something like this, you're going to pull, like, see, there's a little piece of snapdragon you pull off here. It's usually banded. That's typically how it goes. So what I usually do is I just cut the band off, and then this goes for any type of arrangement too. Anyone you get from me, anyone off the cart. You want to take about 1/4 of an inch off, and you want to cut it at an angle. So I'm not going to make a huge mess here, but I'm going to make a little mess.
You can do that. We know that.
Okay, so what we do is we cut it at about at 1/4. I don't know if you can see it on this.
Yeah,
about 1/4 angle.
Raise it up a little bit, and there you go.
So here we go. You see that? So basically, I say if it looks like it has a clogged stem on it. So like you can see on a fresh one, we'll cut it off here. Should be pretty white. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty white there.
Yeah.
So if you do that with all your stems, and I go usually pretty quick, you just cut them off 1/4 of an inch or so. You can arrange them if you want in the vase, or a lot of people just like to stick them right in the vase because when these are put together, they're usually put together to look like a nice arrangement.
Right, to look like something,
So you can just stick it in there easily.
She's not just tossing them.
Right, exactly.
Randomly.
Yes, and she has a couple girls out there that work for her, and I've caught them when they're doing it, and they're making it like an arrangement, and then they just wrap it up, and it's for you to enjoy. So as I'm cutting it.
Well, it looks like it was planned.
Right,
the way,
yes.
Got the one lily and then,
exactly.
snapdragons. And
there's
marigolds.
a little, and, we've talked about that too, that nowadays, between what you're paying and what you're getting, like, our labor. A lot of times labor goes unnoticed, that you forget to add that in. So you're thinking, okay, $20 worth of flowers. You're forgetting yourself. So, it should be $18. So then you're making a couple dollars for your labor. And, we've gone back and forth on that a few times and stuff. And you want everybody to have the best product, and nobody really understands that kind of goes into it too. So when you really think about that, especially for these, $22, $25 for these, that's a heck of a deal. Then you have all your hard goods and stuff. So I think
and what's the amount of time that a bouquet like this would last?
So you are going to experiment with that and let me know. So
okay.
These are the variables that I will say too with like these garden cards. Anything that's outside, they don't last as long as something that you would have inside, temperature controlled. It's in a cooler. So certain things will get will last longer. I typically change the water out about every 3 days for something, and if it looks like it is pretty dead, and I'm trying to find something here, so like this is really broken off, and if you can see that. Like there's nothing on there. It's going to start browning out. So you take it out of your display so that then it doesn't get everything else murky and gross. And then usually what I do is I do a quick look. I see one right here.
You put anything in the water?
So you can, and typically when I sell stuff at the store, there'll be the little food packets with things that come off of a cart like this, or things that are like a grab and go quick outside thing. There isn't generally food. You can stick an aspirin in. Some people use warm water. I use cold water. I always have used cold water. A lot of florists debate me on that you use warm water. There's a lot of myths out there, but this is what I always say about these freshly grown. They just came out of the field. If you just put them in water, they're going to last. It's not like you have to try and baby it from them coming across the seas and all of that. So I'm doing it, and I keep forgetting to say it as I'm doing it. So
that's okay.
The snapdragon.
We can see it if you're watching it on YouTube or something.
So what you're looking at is like right now what I have is a snapdragon, and there's some browning on the bottom of it, but the top of the bloom still looks great. So that would be something.
You're spending a whole lot more time on that than I would. But.
Yeah, then that's what people don't do, and that's what keeps your blooms lasting longer. If you did that every few days, you would have a lot longer lasting bloom. So
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So and then if you pull out like the pieces like this zinnia, it keeps catching my eye. This zinnia,
I know that's annoying you.
Yes, I would completely pull this out, and if you can see it online too, it is beautiful, but it's browned underneath. So I would not keep this in there just because it's going to get everything else to go a little bit faster. But overall,
really? So that's the danger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you see this, I could spend 20 minutes on this, but I'm not going to just for time. But you can see like you can see
we're
like
at 24 minutes now.
Right. This is the idea with it, right? So you take off these little brown pieces and stuff, and you could spend quite a while. You never want greens like this in your water. So if it's going to hit that water line, you just strip it right off.
Oh.
And then.
See, I would never do any of that.
Right. See, we'll put it where those peonies were last time.
Yeah, that's a good spot. We can see that. Kind of looks freaky because you got the monitor behind you, and then the flowers. No, it looks good.
Oh, good.
Looks real.
That's
it looks
good.
like makes it look 3D. Like that girl's got her hand is coming down on her flowers.
Yes, that's good. Well,
the girl in the background. Oh, she's got them. No, don't.
So, got him right there.
Yeah. Perfect.
So see, that's what you want to do, and then like I can go through and I could go for quite a while. So I won't do that right now, but you want a really nice, long-lasting arrangement, right? So these pieces like that are dying off, don't be afraid to pull them out because then it really makes your arrangement look very nice. So it's a nice little option that you have. Like I said, if you watch this and you know how to deal with it, you take off anything that looks like it might be dead, and you get to enjoy it even longer.
Oh,
and then
nice.
I usually suggest about every 3 days you're going to be doing this.
Okay.
So
pulling it off and changing the water.
Yeah, just jump out the water. And
if you feel good, throw an aspirin in there.
Exactly. And, there's certain stems that are a little bit murkier, which are like the sunflowers. Those tend to bleed out a little bit more, make your water dirtier quicker. If that's the case, every couple days. But this goes for any arrangement too. So if you get like a dozen roses from somewhere, same thing. Every few days, switch out that water and you'll be all set. So basically that was my idea with this is, like I said, we're trying to make more content.
Turn it more
creation.
This way. It's the air. It's prettier that way.
With that lily there, right?
Yeah, so, I can see the lily.
Yeah. So
pull it towards you just a little bit. Yes.
This way.
Well, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. So in this too, so like I said, you have a good idea what's in here. Packed full, right? So there is marigolds, there's some lilies, there's some dill, there's some grasses, there's a little bit of basil even, which is kind of cool. So it's very fragrant. There's some statice, which you can dry later. So if you know your flowers and you grab one of these bunches, you will be able to have a heyday with it because you'll be able to dry stuff. You'll know how to keep it for longer. So I think it's a really good deal. And
I'm
nice
just becoming a flower connoisseur.
Yes, isn't that cool? So it'll be a long-lasting piece for you.
Floored you with the snapdragons, didn't I?
I know, you did. And I was like, the yellows and marigolds, I'm starting to feel it in my throat now, so I got to wrap this up pretty soon so I don't like conk over here. But basically, we're doing stuff like that. And then, like I said, online, if you're following us or on Instagram or Facebook, like that's what we're trying to do is a lot of content creation now. Okay. So like stuff like that. Quick little blurb that you see about it, but then like there's some info on it. It's not just all the flowers and stuff. So if you're following or watching or whatever, that's kind of where we're heading with it. Just because the algorithm's so messed up, we figured we might as well show
put
you a
more
few
stuff
things.
Out there.
Yeah,
that's good.
Show things what you can do with it, and a little bit of. I think I just did one that like we did an arrangement, so you can see that we did that with the podcast at one point. But this is like a sped up because you can do like 4 times as fast, know. So like a minute long thing, or like changing the water, stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. I may run out of stuff in the next couple weeks, but just it's an idea that it keeps it going with it. So anyway, that was basically what I wanted to talk about, the event space, and like I said, good podcast last month with Willie too. So didn't wanted to bask in that a little bit too. So
it was.
So we're glad with that and stuff. But I just wanted to make sure you guys see all this stuff. Stop up to the store. We are there this summer. We'll go back to winter hours in September, and we will talk to you guys soon.